The Duke's Choice, period romance. Purpose. Keep stories from repeating. Before writing, read the last 5 rows of the story log. The new story must differ on at least 3 dimensions from recent ones. The banned trope answer must always be no. After writing, append 1 new row. Niche reminders. Every story needs a humble/overlooked/wronged heroine and a powerful, feared, brooding duke in a glittering period aristocratic world, resolved through against the odds devotion, told tastefully. That is the non-negotiable core. The road to that devotion must rotate across the 14 engines, N. below. The dismiss chosen reversal, engine A, is the signature but only one option. Do not bolt a cruel humbled reversal onto every story. A. Walk away, G. Banter, H. Mishap, I. Matchmaker, J. Fake marriage, K. Air pact, L. Hidden talent, M. Or tenderness, N. Story needs no formal cruelty/scorn at all. Match the engine to the mood, and pick a different engine than the last story used. When the story is a vindication engine, A, B/D/E, make the beats concrete. The specific dismissal/peril/wrong, the Duke's unmistakable claiming devotion, and the cruel humbled, explicitly or by implication. For non-vindication engines, the payoff is still concrete and warm, the walk-away that breaks him, the witty thaw, the binding mishap, the scheme that lands, the pretense turned real, the bargain broken open, the talent unveiled, the wound truly seen. Narrator is first person, always a man, the Duke in retrospect, default, or a male witness, alternate, rotate. Vary the engine, the heroine's role, the wrong/setup, the Duke's epithet, the setting, and the ending type. Imposed rules, non-negotiable. Wholly fictional aristocracy, no real historical figures, no real nobility. No modern celebrities, no real first names of public people. Invented. Ducal titles/estates welcome. Tasteful/period accurate, romance via longing, a held gaze, a hand, a near touch, never explicit or sexualized content, forbidden love beats. Fade to black. No anachronism. Warm, clean, 65+ female audience, sweeping, heartfelt, against all odds. Devotion, dignity, justice for the overlooked, no profanity, no gore, no explicit content. Fast-paced for YouTube, hook in the first 2 to 3 sentences, every scene advances the plot or the bond, no standalone atmosphere paragraphs, no padding, every movement ends on a pull. First person, a man's voice, always. Options and rules, reference, pick each dimension from these lists. Engine, 14, rotate, never the same engine twice in a row, don't let a dominate. A, dismissed/mock, the Duke chooses her. B, sold/forced/contract. Rescued or love. C, the disguise/identity reveal. D, jilted/betrayed. Claimed at the altar. E, the rescue/peril. F, the secret, a secret child, a dead return, a benefactor, years of silent love. G, the dignified walk-away he breaks. H, the spirited heroine/ enemies to lovers. I, the accidental/compromised engagement. J, the matchmaking meddler. K, the fake/pretend relationship. L, the heir pact/the dying bargain. M, the hidden talent reveal. N, the wounded Duke met with tenderness. The heroine's role, vary. A maid, a governess, a seamstress, a nanny, a plain girl. A spinster / past her prime, a wallflower, a jilted bride, a debtor's daughter, an orphan, a widow, a scarred or disabled woman, an exiled woman, the rejected sister, the invisible girl. The wrong/setup, 4 vindication engines, vary, non-vindication engines use the engine's own setup instead, see niche reminders. Sold to pay debts, auctioned, forced to marry, jilted/abandoned at the altar, traded for a richer heiress, mocked as plain/old/poor, called nobody, /unfit, banished/exiled, given a ruined gown, humiliated at the ball. The Duke's epithet, very, invented only. The most feared Duke, the ruthless Duke, the cold Duke, the most desired Duke, the Iron Duke, the Scarred Duke, the War Duke, the Highland/Northern Duke, the Grand Duke, an invented estate named Duke. Setting, very. A candlelit ballroom, a cathedral wedding, a grand dining hall, a snowy village, a storm cliff, a country estate, a drawing room, a market/auction house, a garden party. Ending type, very. The public claiming before the shock ton, the altar objection, the rescue and the vow, the walk away that breaks him and his pursuit, the witty surrender, the pretense becoming a real proposal, the bargain dissolving into a real marriage, the talent unveiled before the room, the tenderness that finally reaches him. Mood/register, very. Tender, brooding, then tender, sweeping, wistful, protective, redemptive, destined, longing, quiet, vindication, warm, whimsy, fierce, gentleness. Banned tropes, never use explicit or sexualized content of any kind, gore or violence played for shock, a real historical figure, real noble house, or real celebrity. Named or implied, slapping/physical abuse played as romance or passion, coercion or non-consent dressed as devotion, modern slang or anachronism, profanity, the same wrong, sold to pay her father's debts, used as the setup, 2 stories running, ending 2 stories running with the identical phrase, made her his duchess. Equals 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 log. No date, story/title, engine, N, narrator type, the heroine, the trigger/setup, the Duke, setting, ending type, mood/register, banned trope used. Notes. The Duke is dead, they told her for 3 years, then he walked across the lawn and said her name. The secret, the Duke, left for dead in the war, hides his survival for 3 years while he recovers, then returns and finds the woman he secretly promised himself to still waiting, now a governess in a neighboring household, the Duke himself, in retrospect, default, Eleanor Marsh, a curate's daughter turned governess at a neighboring estate, secretly promised to the Duke before he sailed for the war and left with nothing but a ring on a hidden chain to grieve him by. The Duke is reported killed in the war. He survives but spends 3 years recovering and finding his way home, letting the world believe him dead. Julian Ashworth, Duke of Halvern, left for dead on a Spanish hillside, returns scarred, restless, and unwilling to wait out society's expectations before claiming her a country garden fate at a neighboring estate, Brockwell Park, with the ducal seat of Halvern Hall and its village church as the frame, the public claiming before the shocked fate guests, the ring restored to her hand in front of the assembly, destined, longing/brooding, then tender/sweeping. No first entry in this niche's tracker. The previously uploaded tracker file was from an unrelated niche and contained no Duke's Choice stories, so this log restarts at 1, engine. Nada, no formal, cruel, humbled, reversal forced in, though Lady Brockwell's mild earlier dismissiveness toward the heroine is gently humbled at the end as a light secondary beat. Narrator equals the Duke in retrospect, setting equals Halvern Hall/Brockwell Park/the village church, all invented. Spark equals a military love story that ended in tears, soft seed only. No specific identifiable film by that title was found in search, treated purely as a generic wartime loss. Emotional core, wholly original execution, invented regency setting, names, and plot. 6 companions fled the scarred Duke in a year, the 7th walked into the storm to bring him home, and the wounded Duke met with tenderness. Badly burned in the war, he has driven away 6 companions in a year, unable to bear their pity. A 7th, a war widow, neither flinches nor performs sympathy, and slowly draws him back to life. The Duke himself, in retrospect, default, Hannah Reed, a sergeant's widow with no means and no patience left for performed sympathy, hired as a reader/companion after 6 others fled within the year. The Duke, badly burned and withdrawn since the war, has dismissed or driven off 6 companions in a year before she arrives as the 7th. Edmund Vane, Duke of Winsley, the scarred Duke, burned and withdrawn behind shuttered windows, testing every new companion's composure until one finally doesn't crack. An isolated wintry country estate, Winsley the morning room, the dinner table, a garden wall in a snowstorm, the library by the fire, the tenderness that finally reaches him. She follows him into a blizzard rather than let pride finish what the war started, and he proposes quietly by the fire the next evening, with a small private wedding to follow. No public crowd, by design. See notes. Protective/fierce gentleness/redemptive, no engine N, rotated. From F, used last time. Heroine role rotated from governess to widow/companion. The wrong/setup is the engine's own. His withdrawal after being burned, not a vindication style wrong, so no cruel. Humbled, beat was forced in. The ant who flinches at dinner is not punished or shamed, only the catalyst for his flight into the storm. Duke's epithet rotated to the scarred Duke, setting rotated from a public garden fate to an isolated wintry estate. Ending type deliberately rotated to an intimate/private resolution rather than entry 1's public claiming before a crowd, to keep the two ending types distinct. Narrator type kept as the Duke in retrospect, same as entry 1, the alternate male. Witness narrator was not needed here since varying nearly every other dimension already gave sufficient contrast. Same spark reused on the user's request, executed in a wholly different direction from. Entry 1, visible wounding rather than presumed death, a year of withdrawal rather than 3 years absence, a private fireside proposal rather than a public lawn crossing. You trespass on Ashcombe land again, madam, the Duke said. Her next words left him speechless. H, the spirited heroine/enemies to lovers, a fearless apothecary confronts the returning Duke at his boundary wall and gives him an unanswerable riposte. Neither can stop arguing. He falls across a slow thaw of library suppers and more walks, proposes at the same wall, and says please. The Duke himself, in retrospect. Default, Cecily Vane, a rector's daughter turned village apothecary. Sharp-tongued, fearless. Used to fighting for every inch, she has crossed Ashcombe land for 2 years to reach the sick and will not stop. Engine H's own setup. He returns from war and confronts her at the boundary wall. She does not flinch, gives him her full trespass count, 114 crossings, and asks what he plans to do about it, leaving him without words. Edmund Ashcombe, Duke of Ashcombe, the Iron Duke of the Northern Counties, cold and exacting, who has never met a woman who did not flinch. His composure cracks irreparably. At the wall Ashcombe Moor boundary wall, the village of Creswick, and the estate library, all invented, north of England, the witty surrender. He proposes at the boundary wall. She makes him say please, and he does. Brooding then tender/rye/slow thaw, no engine H, rotated from N, used last time. Narrator type kept as the Duke in retrospect. 3 consecutive, alternate male. Witness narrator do next time to vary this dimension. Heroine role rotated from widow/companion to apothecary/rector's daughter. Duke's epithet rotated to the Iron Duke of the Northern Counties / Duke of Ashcombe. Setting rotated from an isolated wintry estate to a moorland boundary plus village plus country estate library. Ending type rotated to the witty surrender/hard won proposal rather than the intimate fireside. Entry 2, or the public claiming. Entry 1, no, cruel humbled, beat. Engine H needs none. Mood rotated to rye/slow thaw rather than protective/fierce or destined/sweeping.